Welcome back to Seilstad Sister Storytime. I hope you guys had an excellent Easter. Did you like Emma's story on Sunday? It was about our Jesus Christ, and he rose from the dead so that we could celebrate his life and everything that he has given us. Today, we're going to be celebrating one of God's favorite people, a man after his own heart, David. Today's story is David and Jonathan. David was a young shepherd boy. His father had 8 sons, and he was the youngest. The older boys became soldiers in the king's army. David was left at home to look after the sheep. One day, a stranger named Samuel came to David's home. He told David that God had chosen David to be a king when he was older. David was surprised, but he did not say anything. Sometime later, David was taken to see the king of the country, who was King Saul. David was very good at playing the harp. King Saul liked to listen to him play. He asked David to stay in the palace with him. David was a gentle boy and a brave one too. Once, a great giant named Goliath came with his army against King Saul. No one dared to face the giant, but with God's help, David stood up to him. He killed Goliath with a stone thrown from his sling. King Saul made David a leader in his army. When the army came home after the battle, people came out of their houses. They danced and sang in the streets. Everyone was happy. The people loved David. Everyone even said how brave he had been. King Saul was very angry. He was afraid the people would make David king in his place. From that time, whenever King Saul saw David, he became angry. One day, when the king threw a spear at David to pin him to the wall, David ran from the room. David became very unhappy living at the palace. He became afraid of King Saul. Jonathan was the king's son. He was kind. He was a good friend to David. They made a promise to each other that whatever happened, they would always be friends. "I can see you are not happy here," said Jonathan. "You must leave the palace. Take my armor, take my sword and my bow in case you need them." David did not go. He did not think that he was in real danger. King Saul came to hate David. He told Jonathan to kill him. Jonathan loved David, and so he made a plan. "In a field not far from here, there is a great stone," said Jonathan. "Go and hide behind it. In 3 days, I will come with my servant and shoot 3 arrows by its side. If I say to my servant, 'Go and find the arrows,' they are beside the great stone, then you will know that all is well. But if I say, 'Find the arrows, they are ahead of you,' then you will know that there is great danger. You must go away." So David hid behind the great stone. Jonathan went to King Saul. He begged him not to kill David. King Saul did not listen. He became very angry. He threw his sword at Jonathan, but it missed him. Jonathan ran from the palace, calling his servant. He went to the field near the great stone. Soon his arrows flew through the air. "Find the arrows," called Jonathan. "They are ahead of you." David heard, and he was very sad. The servant found the arrows, and Jonathan sent him home. Then David came out of his hiding place. He put his arms around Jonathan. "My father is so angry. I am sure he plans to kill you. You must go away," said Jonathan. "Hide far away from here. You must remember our promise. We shall always be friends." David ran away. He found a cave near the desert where he lived for a long time. other men who were afraid of King Saul joined David. When he was older, he became their leader. One day, someone asked to see David. It was Jonathan. A long time had passed. Jonathan hardly knew him. They threw their arms around each other. You need not be afraid, said Jonathan. My father will never find you. One day you will be king and I shall serve you. Until then, we must part. Jonathan went back to join his father's army. Some years later, David heard that there had been a great battle. One day, a soldier from King Saul's camp came to David. His clothes were torn. David could see that he had been in the fighting. He told David that King Saul and Jonathan were dead. He brought the king's crown with him. He gave it to David. David wept. He was very, very sad. God had made him a king, but David had lost his best and dearest friend. All of these different pictures appear in our story today. If you go back through the video, you can see if you can find them, and then tell the story in your own words. Right now, we don't get to be with our friends, but that time is going to come to an end, and we'll give them all a big hug, just like David and Jonathan got to do. But God has given us this opportunity to be together in different ways. So why don't you guys make a picture or sing a song, send some kind of video or picture to your friends, and even to us as your friends. We'd love to see you guys. We miss you very much.